The bus screeched to a halt in the middle of the road, not because of traffic, not because of an accident, but because a muddy, trembling dog had thrown itself directly in front of it, paws braced against the asphalt, eyes filled with panic and purpose. Passengers gasped as the animal refused to move, circling the front of the bus, bowing low, whining, then running a few steps away before turning back again, as if begging the driver to follow. No one yet knew why this dog was risking its life, or what terrible secret waited just beyond the curve of the road. And in those few frozen seconds, one question hung heavy in the air: what was this dog trying so desperately to save them from? Before the story continues, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Kind vibes if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that still happen in this world. The bus was an early morning commuter route, cutting through the edge of a quiet town where factories met farmland. Most passengers were half asleep, clutching coffee cups and phones, minds already buried in long workdays. The driver, a middle-aged man named Rakesh Malik, had driven this route for years and prided himself on never being late. But that morning, something felt different. When the dog appeared out of nowhere, Rakesh's first instinct was annoyance, followed by fear. One wrong move and the animal would be gone. He slammed the brakes and felt the weight of responsibility settle into his chest as silence filled the bus. The dog was a medium-sized mixed breed, ribs faintly visible beneath dirty fur, one ear torn slightly at the tip. It was clearly not aggressive. Its tail didn't wag, but it didn't snarl either. Instead, it moved with frantic intention, glancing back down the road again and again. Some passengers urged the driver to honk, to scare it away, to keep moving. Others watched in uneasy confusion. The dog suddenly turned and ran several meters down a narrow dirt path branching off the main road, then stopped and looked back, barking once, sharp and urgent, before running back to the bus. Rakesh felt a strange pull he couldn't explain. Years ago, he had lost his own dog during a flood, and the memory still sat heavy inside him. Ignoring the schedule ticking in his head, he opened the bus door and stepped down onto the road. The dog backed up, not fleeing, but leading. Step by step, Rakesh followed it, the gravel crunching beneath his shoes. A few passengers pressed their faces to the windows, curiosity overpowering impatience. One woman quietly wiped her eyes without knowing why. The dirt path dipped into a shallow wooded area, the morning fog clinging low to the ground. After only a short distance, Rakesh noticed something was wrong. The earth ahead looked disturbed, darker, wet. Then he heard it, a faint sound barely louder than the wind. It was a cry, weak and broken. His heart began to pound. The dog darted forward and stopped beside a collapsed section of ground where heavy rain had eroded the soil overnight. Below the broken edge was a partially hidden ditch where a small car lay tilted on its side, crushed against rocks and branches. The windshield was shattered. Inside, barely visible, was a young woman pinned in her seat, blood on her forehead, one arm limp. The cries were coming from her. Shock slammed into Rakesh's chest as understanding rushed in. The dog hadn't stopped the bus for attention. It had stopped it for help. Rakesh ran back toward the bus, shouting for someone to call emergency services. Panic erupted, but this time it carried purpose. Phones came out, doors opened. A few passengers followed him back to the ditch, carefully, fear mixing with adrenaline. The dog stood guard at the edge, eyes never leaving the injured woman, tail low, body tense, as if holding the world together through sheer will. Help arrived faster than anyone expected. Sirens cut through the quiet countryside. Paramedics stabilized the woman, later identified as Meera Khatri, who had lost control of her car hours earlier in the dark and rain. Doctors would later say that if another hour had passed, she might not have survived. Hypothermia and internal injuries had already pushed her close to the edge. As Meera was lifted into the ambulance, the dog finally relaxed, sinking to the ground as if every ounce of strength had been spent. Only then did people notice the rope burn marks around its neck. Someone realized the truth. The dog had likely been tied near the road and abandoned, yet when disaster struck nearby, it didn't run away. It ran toward help. The bus route resumed much later that day, but no one complained. Something had shifted inside every person who witnessed what happened. Strangers exchanged quiet looks of shared awe. Rakesh sat back in his seat, hands still trembling, knowing he would never forget that morning. Local shelters were called, but the dog never made it there. Rakesh took it home that very evening. He named the dog Ayan, meaning gift, because that's exactly what it was. News of the incident spread through town, reminding people that heroism doesn't always wear a uniform, and sometimes the smallest souls carry the greatest courage. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kind Vibes. Your support helps keep stories like this alive.